And we're back. You're listening to the BS Nonsense Podcast. I'm your host, Ian, here today with my co-host as usual, and he is averse to introducing himself. By the way, is that what averse means, or is that even a word? I don't know. Leave a comment down below if I just said something that makes sense or not.
Adverse?
Adverse, yeah, maybe, but I said it like adverse. But I spelled it in my head like that, but I didn't know if there's a D. Is it averse?
I think there is a D.
Adverse. Yeah, if like medicine has adverse effects, that's something you would say. But I was trying to say like if someone has an aversion to an activity, like introducing themselves, could you say that you're averse to it, or is it only that you can say that someone has an aversion?
I thought that...
I don't know how well, because your voice is like on the side instead of in front of the microphone.
Well, I'm trying to do something.
Some of us here try to make a good podcast. Anyways, no,
I'm not one of them.
We like to joke here, and if you have a problem with any of our jokes, just go ahead and leave some death threats in the comments. Trust me, we don't take them seriously. So what we're going to be talking about today is, well, actually, believe it or not, you're listening to Stoner Stories, Volume 4, probably. The premier ASMR Pothead podcast, where we tell you absolutely zero stories that involve weed. Why is it called Stoner Stories, you ask?
Some of them do involve weed.
Actually, most of them in some way involve weed, but it's almost like never even mentioned. We literally just don't even mention it in the story.
Yeah, because it's not necessary.
Why mention it? There's no reason to mention it. If I tell a story on here, I was high.
Exactly.
So,
how many stories have you told on here that you weren't high?
Well, I don't know. The thing is, because most of the stories I tell on here, I make up. So you can say I was high or I wasn't high or whatever. I just made it. What? Oh, but, we're recording. Like, I mean, oh boy. Okay. Well, let's just get right into it. No, I'm just saying, we're not going to just get right into it. I'm going to have to, like, pull up where I wrote down what I'm talking about.
You're reading from a script?
We're off to a good start. No, it's just I wrote, like, literally the name of the story that I'm going to be telling. Because I named my story.
That's pretty nerdy.
I named my story.
Can't believe that you're such a nerd.
Okay, let's start. Well, here's a good one. Let's go way back when, the very first time I smoked and got drunk. Because it was the same day. Because I was a really cool kid. And when I say smoked here, I'm talking about cigarettes. This was before I ever considered smoking weed. So I was probably 13 years old, and my friend came over, and I can't remember. I think he brought a Swisher Sweet, and then we stole 2 cigarettes from my dad. And I had, before he came over,
that much tobacco.
I also stole 2 or 3 beers from my dad. So this was our stash, was like 3 beers, a cigarillo, and 2 Marlboro Reds. So we went in the backyard. Parents still awake, by the way. We just went in the backyard and went behind the shed, and we smoked the cigarettes and the cigarillo. And, I acted like I was high or something. I went all crazy and like started shooting bottle rockets. And because my friend had been, I was like, why even smoke tobacco? Like, what's even about? And my friend was like, because it gives you a buzz. It's almost like being drunk. And keep in mind, neither of us, he had also never drank alcohol. So I'm asking him questions and he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. And he's just telling me some bullshit. So anyways.
Tobacco does give you a buzz, I guess.
It does. I mean, I probably had a buzz.
You feel like you're
but anyways, when I ran to the front yard and shot a bottle rocket, I just remember my friend he was like, hell yeah, that's the buzz I'm talking about. And it's just like, yeah, dude, because you know. We're like 2 13-year-olds that don't know what the fuck we're talking about. Okay, so then I think we each drank 1 beer. I think it was actually only 2 beers I had, because that makes more sense and it's easier to tell the story that way. So we each drank 1 of the beers, and then later that night, after my parents went to sleep, me and my friend and the co-host of this show all went out, and we met up with another friend. We walked all the way to another friend's house not that far away. It's like a mile away or whatever. And he had a big, like 2-liter Mountain Dew bottle that was full of, it was a mixture of like wine and some kind of champagne or something. It was basically like they stole 2 bottles of alcohol out of someone's garage fridge.
And they poured them into the Mountain Dew.
And poured them into one single container. And I drank the majority of that because literally nobody else was drinking. The co-host was, I think you were like, you just didn't want to.
I didn't drink it. No.
My other friend that was, the one that came over and like brought the cigarillo and everything, he also didn't drink. And he had never drank before, I think.
Did drink it too.
The friend that had the alcohol drank some of it, but he did not drink near as much as I did.
At some point, he started running around and he was like, "This will make me get drunker."
Oh, I forgot all about that. He was like, I was like, "How do you know when you're drunk?" And my friends were like, "Turn your head back and forth really fast. And you'll see." And I did it, and they're like, and I'm like, "Okay, so how do I know if I'm drunk?" And they're like, "All right, if you're drunk, then it takes a second for your vision to catch up with you," or something like that. And I'm just thinking, the real test is if I'm dumb enough to shake my head really hard, then I'm probably drunk.
Well, keep in mind you're asking kids who also probably didn't know how to tell if they were drunk.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is what was going on. So anyways, I got super drunk, and then you
got so drunk that we almost left you in a bush at some point.
Y'all both thought I was faking. Y'all like, "You're not."
Well,
no, I was really drunk.
I had never drank before, so of course my first thought was just that you're faking it, but eventually I realized that you actually were drunk. And when we finally made it back home, you like passed out in the floor right by the door.
No, this is what happened. I did go to bed, and I puked off the side of the bed, and I was like, "Fuck this. I don't want to sleep in the room with the puke." Like most people would like clean it up, right? Not me. But also keep in mind, I'm like, I can't necessarily just like wipe up puke with a towel or something and then throw the towel in the lawn. Like, I mean, I don't know. I probably could because I did clean it up the next day. But anyways, so then after I
probably
puked,
just didn't feel good enough to be able to do it.
Yeah, I walked into like it was kind of our computer room. It was just like the main room people hung out in the house, and I just fell asleep in the floor. And then a couple hours later, my dad got up to go to work, and he woke me up, and he was just like, "Go to bed, son." I was just like, "Okay." And I went to bed. It's like, well, he must have known I was passed out drunk or something, but
knew.
He didn't.
Dad was just cool like that. I can remember another time that we like snuck out in the middle of the night, came back home, and we realized, oh shit, Dad's in the room that we need to go in to get back in the house. And eventually we just like, we tried to wait it out, but we were too impatient, and we eventually just walked in, and he didn't even give a fuck.
He was like, "Y'all were out all night, weren't you?" And we even said our planned lie. It was like, "No, we got up early to watch the sunrise." And we shouldn't have even said that because even if he believed us, well, now he thinks we're gay. So, I mean, there was really like no winning in that with that excuse.
He definitely knew that we had been out all night.
And let's talk a second about garage.
If Mom had caught us, it would have been a different story.
Yeah. Let's talk for a second about garage fridges that have beer in them. Y'all know, if you're listening to this and you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry to tell you, but you were not a cool kid. And I'm sorry to be the one to let you know.
With no garages.
Okay, then you're poor or something. So you're still not a cool kid.
Well, I don't know that you can judge someone's coolness off of how much money their family has.
Oh, okay. Well, you can. Now you know.
Okay. Good to know. You know. I should have not been hanging out with as many people as I did. I guess.
Yeah, I mean, money is, if you think, it's really just a measure of how good you are.
But like when you're a kid, the money's not even yours. It's just your family's rich or not.
It doesn't matter. It works like that.
Where you live.
Yeah. Well, anyways, the reason I bring this up is because so many people, even you people listening at home, maybe you do this yourself. They have refrigerators in their garage and they put beer in it. And
we do that here.
When you're like 13 or 14-year-old kid, that's just free beer. Thank you. You don't know how many, and I remember the houses that had beer, and you go back a couple weeks later, and they almost always, have more beer.
Of course. What are they going to do? Not restock?
But now, we hit this one house like 3 or 4 times, and then the next time we went, was it a chain or just like a bungee cord? It was like
I think it was an actual chain.
Yeah. So it had a chain wrapped around the fridge with a padlock. But here's the thing.
It wasn't on good enough to keep you from opening the door just enough to pull one out at a time.
So I went up and we had one guy waiting in the car with the car running. And then I went up and I opened the door and was reaching in one at a time, grabbing one beer at a time. Because you could just open the door just a little bit. And I don't know if it was you or another friend was like standing behind me, and I was like handing off each beer to whoever's standing there until their hands were full. And then I started loading up my own pockets, and we just and yeah.
It's really weird because I went on these beer stealing sprees many times and I never drank.
Yeah.
I just went for the thrill of stealing the beer. Okay,
it's worth it. People drink alcoholic beer.
I had a good time, but
there's a reason people drink non-alcoholic beer. It's the same vibe, drinking non-alcoholic beer, stealing beer that you're not even drinking.
Drinking non-alcoholic it's basically beer the same thing. That's just a bad idea. It probably doesn't taste good. You're not getting drunk. There's like no upsides to that. Stealing is at least fun.
Yeah. That's true. Definitely stealing is really fun. All right, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Like, what do you steal? What have you stolen?
Don't steal stuff if you're over the age of 18. Only do it when you can get away with it.
Well, just don't get caught. Be smart about it. Okay, so that's that. You got any good stoner stories? Here's one. No, go ahead.
You can tell one if you thought of one.
Okay, you're listening to Stoner Stories Volume 4. And I'm going to tell you the story about the time. This, again, is also not a stoner story in any way whatsoever. This is a story of when I was, you can hold that for now. I was probably 13 years old, and I was just at home, and I wanted to get high. But I didn't have any weed, didn't have any beer or anything. So I saw on the internet that you can get high off benadryl. So
I take benadryl all the time just to make me sleepy. Is that part of the reason why?
No, it's benadryl is diphenhydramine, and it's like if you take enough of it, you like hallucinate and stuff. But now I'm gonna say this very explicitly: the BS Nonsense podcast does not recommend doing that. It's very stupid.
Is it diphenhydramine HCl?
No, I don't think so.
This is just like benadryl, but it's just that one ingredient.
And it's a diphenhydramine. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but
I maybe just can't say the word because it's a long-ass word.
Anyways, don't do it. It's dangerous and you can die. But I did it because I read about it on the internet, and here's what the experience was like. I took like however many, like 13 benadryls or something, because you have to take a lot because they're all really small dosage, and it's not pleasant. And I've never read a report, like a trip report online, where it was pleasant. Everyone hates it.
Why did you do it?
Oh, well, when I did it, there was like not much literature out there. I was on Arrowwood, and there was some trip reports on arrowwood.org, and they were like a mix of positive and negative. But if you look now, everything will be... So I was reminded of this recently because it was like the Benadryl challenge on TikTok. And kids were dying, or at least like there was some like ODs.
Yeah, you can definitely OD on it.
Yeah.
But
so what the experience was like,
take a lot,
to explain why it's not worth it, because I think I got what is like the effects people go for, and it just is like not that great. So I just like took it, and then I sat down in the Easy Boy recliner, and in the living room I was just watching TV, and I was looking at, we had the wallpaper in the kitchen, which I could see from where I was sitting. It was like one of those like really flowery wallpapers. It's got a print of flowers all over it.
I remember it.
And the way, when I was looking at that, the first thing I noticed was it was like all the flowers and lines on the wallpaper were like sticking out, kind of like a 3D TV show, you know, like a hologram sticking directly out, straight out. And they were all scrolling down, like all the flowers. And it was pretty crazy looking. And it's just like, okay, that's that. And I mean, that was like the main hallucination I got. The wallpaper was all crazy. Anything I looked at would like move around all crazy. But also it made me pee. Like I constantly had to pee. I went to the bathroom like 20 times. And that's because
probably because of your body's trying to get rid of it.
Yes, that's what it is. But also it makes you feel like crazy heavy. Like I felt like I weighed like 400 pounds. Just every step lifting your legs is hard. So like that's a really weird thing, which is not good. Doesn't feel like, good.
If you use it at its normal dosage, they sell it for both just allergies, but also just as a sleep aid, because it does just kind of make you tired. And it, I don't know. I take it like almost every night before bed. You're not supposed to take it repeatedly, probably, but helps me fall asleep.
Yeah, so then
never tried to take like a bottle of them and see.
Yeah, you definitely should not. So I mean, eventually I just like went to bed and laid there and had to get up a few times to go pee. And at some point I thought like in my mind, the kind of like daydream / trip I was having was like that you came in my room and were talking to me, but it didn't actually happen. But yeah, eventually I was able to fall asleep. Woke up the next day feeling fine. But yeah, it's a bad idea.
You
not
can tell
enjoyable.
That it didn't actually happen if I was the one who came to talk to you in your room, because I never leave my room.
No. I'm just saying it wasn't like such a realistic thing that I believed it really happened. You know what I mean? Like the next day I was like, I didn't really talk to him in my room. So yeah.
Not to say I've never been in your room when we were kids or whatever, but I almost always just stuck to my own room or the computer room.
Yeah, you were definitely in the computer room at the time when this was happening. Because I told you I did it. I was like, I told you what I did, and you're like, that's stupid. And then,
back then, I was smart enough to know that.
I'm smart enough to tell you I did it. So. Anyways,
I guess good thing if you had needed to go to the hospital, I could have at least told them what you had taken.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the basic safety advice of like, tell someone, like when you go hiking, when I went on a hiking camp recently, me and both forgot to tell our parents or anyone like exactly where we're going. And that's like something we thought about. It's like, you should tell someone like exactly where you're going, but I didn't do that.
I do know that you told me you were going, so I would have been able to tell someone where you went on a camping trip, but I would not have known where to
right.
If you had not returned home at the right time or whatever. Like,
I mean, ultimately that would be enough if they could like, because they could probably like get my text messages or something, right? Or do you have to have the phone to do that?
They would have to.
Actually,
they probably couldn't get your text messages because you probably have to have a subpoena to get them.
Oh, okay, I see. Well, if we were like, it feels like a missing persons case. You could probably get that,
like,
right?
Not on the same data plan as anyone else, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm on a whole different service than y'all.
Yeah.
But
like if I went missing, Mom could definitely get my text messages because she's on the plan.
Well,
I'm
it's
on
with her
plan.
parents, so.
But
I guess
also,
we
I
probably
would have
would've
been
been
able
okay.
to be like, well, here's who at least I knew went, like your girlfriend, and then I knew like
Other
two
people that
other
went, yeah.
friends that went. So would have at least been able to give them some information, and maybe one of them did tell somebody where.
I mean, ultimately, yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. But also, we sent like talked about like the details and stuff on Discord and in text messages. So I think amongst all the people, someone involved would like have the ability to figure out where we went. But by then, it might have been too late.
I mean, by the time anyone's looking, it's definitely probably like a full day after everyone didn't come back or whatever.
Right, yeah.
And you might have to even wait 2 days to report it to the police.
It could have been even longer because, I mean, my whole household was with me, so.
Yeah, I guess almost everybody was their whole household.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, so I don't know. We might not have even known you were missing because
So one time...
Because you also just don't answer the phone sometimes, so if I just called you for a few days, I wouldn't think it was strange if you didn't respond.
Yeah, I mean, the best way if you want to get into contact with me is become a patron on patreon.com/bsnonsensepod and then just send me a message through Patreon if that's a thing, and I'll respond immediately. Otherwise, just leave a comment on this video and tell me whatever, like tell me where you're going hiking. So someone needs to know. Leave me. I'm going to be the guy.
Tell someone. If
you don't tell anybody else, or you don't have someone to tell, then I'm your guy. All you need to do is go to patreon.com. We have a subscription service where people have to pay for us to care that they went somewhere. But if it comes down to it, we'll like tell the police, like we'll check up on you after. No, that's too much work.
Yeah. How are we going to know that they didn't come back?
If you're lost, then like send a message to us then, and we'll. I know that's not that useful a service. I understand.
Send a message to us. You could probably call the cops or something. Someone who could actually find you.
Yeah. Those are all good reasons why this is a dumb idea. With that said, patreon.com/bsnonsensepod. You will get bonus episodes. There is 4 of them now, and there are at least 3. There's 4 bonus episodes, so you don't want to miss that.
Some of those have a guest on them, even.
Yeah, true. I don't know that means I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, it's a bonus episode, so.
Yeah. It is pretty amazing we were able to get Jerry Springer to be a guest on our podcast.
I wish we could get Jerry Springer. Is he even still alive?
Yeah, I wish we could get him to come back on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's still alive. Okay, one time I went to my friend's house, and another friend of ours was over there. They were both already there when I got there, and my friend had made like some kind of pasta dish, and served it to me as soon as I got there. So we start eating, and I'm eating it. It's absolutely gross. Like there was something in it. I didn't really know what it was. And I asked my friend, I think he said what it is, but I don't remember what he said it was. But anyways, I just like mostly didn't eat those parts and ate around it. And when I was done, my friend was even like, oh, you didn't finish, or you sure you don't? And I was just like, no, thanks. It was great, but I'm good. Because, that part was gross. Come to find out later that they were trying to secretly dose me with shrooms. And that's why it was disgusting. Unfortunately, I didn't.
Mushrooms taste horrible.
Yeah.
But they should have been smarter and like put it in like a Snickers bar or something.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if this was the best way to hide it in food, but it was definitely gross. So I wish they would have just told me when I didn't eat most of it, because, I would have liked to have eaten it, but instead I didn't.
They just let you waste it?
Yeah, it was just wasted. No one ate it because, it was all mixed with the fucking pasta sauce and stuff.
I don't know why you and your friends even made an agreement that it was okay to dose each other randomly.
Oh, yeah. The reason I wasn't mad that they did that was me and one of my my friends that was there had made an agreement like the year before that if we had acid or something that we would secretly dose the other one. And we're both just like, yeah, that's cool. As long there's some certain things are understood, like you're not doing it like before a family dinner or something, you know. But yeah. And I did remember making that agreement. So I was like, okay, I'm actually kind of happy you tried. It just didn't really work out perfectly. But I appreciate the effort.
I'm not sure, like, if I would even know that I was dosed with mushrooms. If someone could trick me into eating mushrooms, I don't know how you could, because they're so gross that you can definitely taste it. Some people might like the taste of mushrooms. I don't know. I feel like those aren't even meant to be good tasting.
Yeah. I mean, there are some mushrooms that taste pretty good.
With acid would be very easy to do.
Yeah, you could definitely do that.
I would definitely be able to tell if I'd taken acid.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm starting to trip, I would know. Like, I know what it feels like on acid. With mushrooms, it's like different every time. I don't know. I don't know a good way to explain it, but I don't know if I would realize that.
Would you agree that it's kind of like with LSD, like you always know you're tripping, but with mushrooms, you still mushrooms you're more likely to be like to actually.
I think mushrooms are more intense,
but
you're more likely to have a bad mushroom trip than a bad LSD.
Yeah. I agree. Mushrooms are just more intense than acid. I don't mean it's stronger. It's
always
just
cause anxiety. Like,
yeah.
Every time that I've tripped mushrooms, there's been periods throughout the trip where I just felt like something bad's gonna happen, even if nothing bad ever happens. You know,
that's not my experience.
Just for some reason, every time I've taken mushrooms, I always will like just get a strange fear that something bad's gonna happen, and it almost never. I mean, I can't think of a time that anything bad did happen, so I would say that it's just a completely unfounded thing. But I feel like it's caused by the mushrooms.
I would say I don't get that. I think there's been times on mushrooms when I had like anxiety, but not every time.
Your friend had a bunch of mushrooms. That kind of didn't make me feel that way. But I don't know if those were...
Well, specifically...
I don't know if they were a different kind or not, but... Because it might have just been the way that he like ground them up or something.
Specifically, it was some of those shrooms, and I'll tell this story now, that the main time that I had like a lot of anxiety on shrooms, although overall it wasn't a bad trip.
It's weird that you're going to say this is the main time you had anxiety while doing it, since it's the shrooms that I'm saying didn't make me feel anxious.
I know. I know, but I think part of it is also that I just had like a pretty large dose this time. But basically, as how the story goes,
Do you know how much?
No, I have no idea. So, at a friend's house, and another friend comes over, and he brings shrooms. By the way, same two guys that dosed me with the mushroom pasta. So, yeah, the usual suspects. But we also had, there was also like 3 other dudes over there. We're all friends. And yeah, our friend that brought the shrooms, he brought shrooms for everybody. So actually, let me think who all was there so I know how many people this was. I want to say it was 6 guys. Yeah, 6. That's right. There was 6 of us. And we all took these shrooms doing it like, it was like the shrooms were like ground up and then had lemon juice added, and we like took shots of the lemon juice shroom mixture, which I don't know if that's a thing.
That's the best way to take mushrooms, in my opinion.
Totally makes it easier because they taste awful no matter how you do it.
Almost immediately.
Yeah, but you're just.
And I would imagine that putting like an acidic thing like that on it, like lime juice or lemon juice, probably kicks it in faster. Because that will make most anything you ingest, usually it will kick in faster if you take it with something like that.
Oh, right. Okay. That's probably what it is. I knew it was something like supposed to like amplify it or something, but that's probably what it is.
I think it just makes it work faster.
So, yeah, that's what we did. And it was, my friend later said, I think I gave everyone too much that night. So I was like, yeah, that tracks with what I thought. So at some, like during this like whole trip, basically I was tripping so hard I could not talk. Although that's fairly normal for me when I trip on something that I don't talk so much. But at some point I was sitting there, me and a couple of the guys were sitting on the couch, and one of them, the guy that brought the shrooms, looks over to my other friend who's sitting I'm in the middle. So he's talking like past me to the guy next to me. And he's like, he says something like, is it just me or is Ian freaking out? And I'm just like, I was like, now I'm freaking out way more because you just acted like, because you noticed and then spoke because you're concerned.
That's a really weird thing to do, considering you're sitting in between who he's talking to, so he knows that you hear what he's saying, right?
Yes.
But it also seems like maybe that's just something he would say to fuck with you, but...
I don't know if he meant it to fuck with... I don't even know. Maybe he was just trying to fuck with me. I don't know.
That is the type of thing that you could say around someone who's tripping that would fuck with them. Which I don't encourage you to ever fuck with someone who's tripping. That's not cool. Let them have it.
But no, I think he followed up. He's like, "Are you good? Are you okay?" And I was probably didn't say much, but I was probably just nodded. It was like, "Yeah, I'm cool." And we just, kept sitting there for a little bit. It was all fine, but I was a little bit freaking out internally. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it.
So one time when I went with a friend, this was like on my birthday, but he just knew somebody who had shrooms, so we went over to their house, and I didn't know these guys, but I guess they were brothers, so there's two of them, and basically they give my friend 1.5 grams of shrooms, right? And then they give me 9 grams. And they're like, the kind we gave you is different, but you need to eat all of them to feel the same, this 1.5. So I was like, okay, so I ate all 9 grams. And needless to say, everyone else came down way faster and was like not tripping. And I'm obviously still tripping really hard. And they're just like, oh yeah, by the way, those were the exact same kind of shrooms. So you just ate way more than everyone else. And I'm just like,
did they really do that?
Yes.
Just some random guys did that?
Yeah.
Where do they live? I'm not cool with that. I'm gonna go do something about
that way. But it was weird because also we weren't sure if they really lived in that house or not for a while. But I think that they really did live there. It just seemed weird because me and my friend had never been to their house before.
Yeah.
And
what do you think? They're just using someone else's house?
Yeah, well, I don't know. We were just randomly paranoid that like maybe they don't even actually live here because like inside there was like pictures of people on the wall, but it wasn't them.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I assume it must have just been someone else in their family or something.
Yeah.
And because like none of the rest of their family was home or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that my friend did go back over. I've never went back, but I'm pretty sure he had kept in touch with those guys, and they really did live there. But anyway, so like my friend, he was like really tripped out for a while, and I wanted to leave already, but he's the one who was going to have to drive, and he barely took any. Like he didn't even take an eighth, he took 1.5.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, you can definitely drive. And eventually he did drive. But we got lost coming back because we got to this stop sign and we needed to take a right. But he's asking me where we need to go. And I'm like tripping hard as fuck. And there's a cop like right at across the street that's just watching this road. It's like a 4-way intersection.
Yeah.
And so my friend's just like, which way? And I'm just like, I don't know. Give me a while. Because like I'm trying to like figure out where we're at, but I'm like really, I don't know, the world's a strange place at the moment. And he's just like, fuck it, and he just goes straight. And so eventually we come to another area on the road, and I'm just like, I know where we're at right now. And I tell him how to get back to my house from there. but we went so much further away than we needed to.
Dude, just from
the thing is, we went to a completely another city, and I was like,
I know what you did.
I was just like, fuck, I know where we're at right now.
You were at that 4-way stop down there, and the 4-way stop on 2 highways, and you went straight and went all the way to the other town instead of turning right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is exactly what happened.
Without saying any names, I know, and without also having ever heard this story before, I knew the places you're talking about from your description.
Was so weird because also, once I'm telling him how to get back, eventually he does know where we're at again when we get to a certain place.
Yeah.
And so he starts to just... Like, he doesn't take a certain turn that I think that he should have. And eventually he's just like, I forgot that I needed to take you home. Because he was just going to drive to his own house.
Oh, yeah.
And, which wouldn't have been a big deal. But either way, I was like, yeah, well, we need to go to my house first. Because I'm like, unlike you, I am just still tripping hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And so we came back here and hung out for like a couple hours. And then he went home, whatever. And I still tripped for like 5 more hours. I guess just because I ate so much. I don't know. Because it doesn't usually last that long. But it seemed like it lasted way longer. But I've never eaten that much. Usually if I eat shrooms, I go for like an 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was like about 3 times as much. Well, a little less.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I've ever had that much. Unless maybe I did in this one story. But
it wasn't really that bad of an experience, but it just seemed like it lasted way longer than I expected the mushroom trip to last for.
How long do shrooms usually last? 6 hours?
I mean, yeah.
I feel like it's shorter than acid.
I would think that it's usually around 6 hours, but it to some degree does depend on your own body, how fast it's getting them out.
Yeah. I want to go ahead now and jump back to the story that I was telling that I stopped briefly to take a hit and then a whole new story had started.
I was just trying to fill it.
Yeah, we're good. I had enough time to take I had enough time to take my hit, so So we were sitting on the couch, then we hope you remember. I'm not reviewing at all. So
I remember.
Yeah. So I went outside. So at this point, it was just me and 2 of the guys were in the house, and the other 3 dudes that were there were outside. So I went outside to see what everyone else was up to, and this is where I really started like kind of tripping out because I see one of my friends is wearing a EMT jacket, and I'm just like. So in my head, I start to like wonder, like question my reality. Like, was there some kind of accident and I'm just like really hurt and my brain is just seeing like there's like, you know what I mean? Like there's actually an EMT guy here, but my brain is just seeing it as the guy that was there when the accident happened.
Yeah, like maybe you're just like, having a weird hallucination and that guy's actually there to help you. But
Yeah. And I wasn't able to, so even when I like, started interacting with the group and stuff, I was still not saying anything because again, I wasn't talking. So I still like never asked.
Were you just not able to talk, or was it like you think that you're talking but you're not saying anything out loud?
More like I just wasn't able to talk. Like I definitely didn't think I was talking. I mean, I probably could have managed to talk, just kind of how it felt was to not talk. But anyways, turns out that guy, like I later found out he was a volunteer EMT, and I just didn't know that. But I mean, and he didn't have his jacket on when he arrived. But when he was outside while tripping, he got cold and went to his car and got the jacket. So that's why suddenly he's wearing the EMT jacket, and that tripped me out. But ultimately, it was all fine. And I feel like on acid, I would have never questioned my reality like that. But I don't know, maybe just never tripped that hard. But on shrooms, it was like it felt like that could be a thing.
There's probably been a time or 2 that I've been on acid and been unsure of what was real, but not. I feel like it's more common with mushrooms because it's happened to me way more often when I've taken mushrooms, where I'm like, you can literally almost forget that you actually took something.
Have you ever, when you took acid, gotten vertigo?
I'm not sure. I don't know how to You
So, like,
describe Vertigo to me.
So it's basically like one time when I took acid, I was just in my apartment kind of walking around, and I was like reaching up, touching the ceiling or grabbing we had like kind of low ceilings there, and grabbing the door frame, top of the door frames and stuff, and looking around. And then it was kind of like, I started to feel almost like my vision is kind of like, how to explain this? It was like when I looked
Vertigo, like when you get tunnel vision? Or?
No. When I was walking and I looked down at my feet, it felt like that was up. So it felt like the floor and stuff was up, and that I was like walking on, like attached to the ceiling basically, except that, you know, I was seeing like the floor and stuff, not confused which is the ceiling, but I just felt like it was
that's never
upside down and stuff. And it was basically just the direction I looked felt like it was up, I guess, is kind of, and I'm only just now realizing that as I'm saying this out loud. But I also got this thing, and this was it's kind of related because it was, you know, the same trip and kind of like working off that same energy that made the upside down mix up. Everything in my vision was kind of like the world was like fishbowl shaped. Like I'm inside the fishbowl, and the distance of my vision, everything is like curved up like that.
Not a good sign.
Well, I don't know. That's just how everything looked. Like the whole time I was tripping. It was weird.
I feel like I have experienced that, and I don't know. I didn't like it to be like that.
I know. It was like it was like very unsettling, actually. That was probably one of my like heaviest acid trips, which I didn't expect, because I took one hit of 1P LSD and like a half a hit of ALD 25, I think is what it's called, which is also basically LSD.
I've never had those kinds.
But it may have been that those interact in an amplifying way, but I looked it up and it seemed like they don't, probably. They probably just act both like this acid. But man, it was I was definitely tripping really hard. I played Mario Kart.
Didn't you say that one of them was just stronger?
Yeah, the 1P LSD hits were super strong. They're labeled as they're 100 micrograms, which is like the standard hit size. Of course, when you get it on the street, you have no idea of what you're getting.
True.
So you're supposed to expect 100 milligrams or micrograms or whatever it is, but who knows?
Personally, I always just take 2 hits of acid at once, no matter what. Like, I just assume I always need at least 2.
Yeah.
The only time, like, I've taken one a few times, and it's always because either I could only get one or whatever, but half of the times that I've only taken one, I didn't even feel like I tripped.
Dude, with these 1P LSD, I took 3/4 of one once, and that almost made me like I was laying on the floor listening to music with my eyes closed, and that almost made me like leave this realm of existence. I don't know how else to explain it. I felt like I was going to get pulled into like the spiritual everythingness
I can remember like one time when I took some LSD. It was probably 2 hits. Don't know anything else about it, but I was listening to music, and like it was dark outside. I turned the lights off and I got into bed, and I'm just listening to music. And for like 2 hours, I did just completely forget that I'm even in my bed. Like, I don't know what was going on in my head, but I was still hearing the music, but I'm just like kind of like having a weird experience where I don't realize that I'm in the bed, but it felt really comfortable. But I guess I must have been peaking or something, because like after a few hours I did just like realize I'm just laying in bed and like probably just like crawling in my bed or something.
For real? Wait, what? Wait,
can you give like underneath the covers as well?
Can you give more detail of your internal experience when this has happened? Like, what did you see as yourself?
I wish that I could give more detail on the internal experience, but it doesn't even make sense to try to explain it. Like,
damn,
it's something that you only experience when you're so fucked up that there's no longer words to explain what's going on.
Dude, do you think... I feel like diehard acid heads would be offended that you described tripping really hard as it being so fucked up. They'd be like, it's not fucked up. That's the only time you're really sober.
Maybe. It's kind of like being one with the fucking universe or something. Like,
Yeah.
you do feel some kind of sense of ego death, I guess, where you no longer really see yourself as a single person or something. I don't know if that's the right term for it, but you feel more at one with everything around you.
Yeah, no, there was
kind of like lose your sense of identity for a little bit.
No, like when I was saying I was listening to music with my eyes closed, laying down on the floor, I felt like if I didn't open my eyes and start walking around and like try and bring myself back to reality, like I was getting lost in I was gonna like lose my personal identity and just be like, I'm part of all of it. Like that's how it felt.
That's how I was feeling.
And I was like, I don't want to get into, I don't want to do that. But you actually went there.
Yeah, I mean, some people do not want to experience ego death or whatever.
I'm okay with the idea of it, but when it was happening, I was like, no.
You can almost guarantee that it'll happen if you got into like one of those
sensory deprivation chambers.
If you get into one of those on acid, you're gonna experience it.
Yeah, but I would bet, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Usually I try not to go that far with it. I try to keep myself somewhat grounded to reality. But it honestly feels really nice, but it might be kind of scary getting there.
Yeah, the transition into it is, I guess, the crazy part. And that's what I felt like I was on the verge of that.
Because it is something that you kind of notice is happening, but once it happens, you're no longer...
Yeah.
able to really tell, but I don't know. It's pretty cool. Being in my bed in the dark with just hearing the music, I feel like is probably what kind of...
Do you know what you were listening to? Just curious.
I don't remember exactly, but I'm gonna say it was one of David Bowie's albums that I had on the...
hell yeah. Rap. Nice.
Can't remember which one that... Maybe the one with Starman.
That'd be good. I actually don't know if I've ever listened to Ziggy Stardust or any David Bowie on acid, although I think I probably have.
Well, I've definitely done it more than just that time, because I remember one time I was tripping on acid and listening to another David Bowie album. It might have been the same one, I don't really remember, but I do remember that at some point Dad just banged on my door and said something about the music being gay.
God, the vibe killer.
And I was just like, what the fuck?
The fuck kind of gay music you listen to now?
It's funny because he never says anything about rap music, even though he seems like he doesn't like it. But David Bowie, he definitely does know, but he doesn't like David Bowie for some reason.
Man, what a shame.
Oh man, we actually, one of those, I don't know if you saw the records and stuff we brought back.
Yeah.
But some of them are like smaller.
Yeah.
One of those is a David Bowie album. I don't know which album it was, but I'm pretty sure one of those was.
Interesting.
But can you play those smaller ones on the same kind of record player? Or
I think so. I think you can move the position of the needle. So it should be able, because when you're regularly playing a record, doesn't the needle come more and more to the inside as it goes on, and that's how records work. Like the end of the record is just the inner.
I've never been the one to turn on a record.
I've hardly ever listened to them, so what I just said might be completely not true, but I'm pretty sure it is.
I've been at friends' houses who really like record players, but I never tried to turn them on myself. We brought home a record player also, but I don't know if it works.
Yeah.
But we have a bunch of records to try out. What I want to do first is listen to one of them upside down or backwards or something, so I can see what was the big hit back in the day when people were trying to hear satanic messages and something.
I don't think you can just play it backwards, but
I don't know. Wasn't that what people were doing?
Was it as simple as you play the record backwards, or do you need a special It might just be that if you can run it backwards,
it was a pretty easy thing that anyone could do, but I don't know now that I'm actually thinking about it.
If you physically grab the record on the turntable with your hands and start rotating it backwards, it'll play it backwards at whatever speed you spin it, but that is very damaging to the record. But maybe some record players can just spin in reverse, and that'll do it.
I don't know. I probably won't ever actually do that, but people did do that back in the day and claim that there was like satanic stuff in the songs. But I'm just wondering, like, if you had to play the record backwards to find this, then But I guess they were trying to claim it was subliminal messaging.
There was in Stairway to Heaven, and then I think the most famous was Hotel California, because they had like multiple things backwards. It's called backmasking, is what like the people that believe it was like intentional and stuff. But then there's like they think artists intentionally did it, and with Led Zeppelin especially, a lot of their songs have backmasking. Man, in the old school days, it's probably not even there anymore, but there was a website dedicated to this in the early 2000s, and it had all the samples. It had audio clips of everything playing backwards, and then like written out what it said. Some of them would be like, there's disagreement on what this word is, but
I would imagine that site still exists.
But part of what I was saying was because the members of Led Zeppelin did practice Satanism in some forms, and they all had like special, I forget if it was like special names for themselves or what, but like it was all named after demons. Like Jimmy Page had Zozo, and Robert Plant had one too. I forget.
I didn't really know this about Led Zeppelin, even though I do listen to their music a lot. Like I listen to the Physical Graffiti album all the time.
Hell yeah, that's a good one.
I didn't know that they were Satanists.
Well, they're not. They weren't exactly.
Like, I mean, I don't
think they were Satanists.
There's no problem with it or whatever, like...
They did some kind of, like, occult things, but they were, like, really big into Lord of the Rings and stuff. So I think that's part of it for them, is just, like, that kind of fantasy aspect. But anyways, that, aided in the rumors that they were purposefully backmasking in their songs.
I was going to say...
They may have been. But
like in the Bone Thugs and Harmony songs where they have backwards stuff, and some of the 3-6 Mafia songs have backwards stuff, and they are kind of aiming at being kind of scary.
But now that's not, because backmasking,
they clearly put that in on purpose.
Backmasking is like you say it and it made sense forward.
Like recorded it backwards, and it just sounds like backwards talking if you hear it. But if you reverse it, you can find out what they're actually saying, which oftentimes it's just whatever they said before, and then they reversed it just to make it sound cool. Or I feel like it's more to invoke, like, I don't know if I would say it's supposed to scare you or something, but it adds to that kind of ambiance.
Yeah, it's just supposed to be ominous.
Yeah. But, I don't know. I thought that's pretty dope.
Okay, the hell? Okay, this is a professional sound studio here. What happened? What made that sound?
I don't know that that was picked up on the mic.
Yeah, the sound probably didn't even pick up. What happened was the co-host keeps a stack of cigarette boxes. You don't need to explain this. And one of them fell on the ground.
People don't need to know that I hoard.
It's like, how people like collect the miles, or used to collect the Marlboro miles to get stuff. I wish
that was still a thing.
Yeah. He does that, but like, there's not even any reason.
I actually keep them because they're like Legos, except...
I mean, they are, they're like building blocks.
You need to use like some glue if you want them to actually stay together, but we've had some cool stuff made out of them. One time we built a castle out of it. It had a working drawbridge and everything, and Dad was like, throw that garbage away.
Yeah,
he didn't think of it as a piece of art, like, because I was showing it to him because I was like, check out this castle I made purely with cigarette boxes.
If you think about it, cigarette boxes are like Minecraft. Dude, if you think about it, cigarettes are like Minecraft too, because you had like someone has to like build it, and when you make something, that's like you literally cigarette is a crafted item, so it's a lot like Minecraft.
I understand that, but no one built this cigarette.
Which did they have first?
This is probably all done by a machine.
Did Minecraft come first, or did cigarettes?
Hard to say. Probably around the same year.
Yep. Yep.
Dude, how long have people been smoking tobacco?
A long time.
I am kind of like...
It's from America,
Minecraft
right? So
definitely, didn't come first. But because cigarettes have been around for hundreds of years, maybe thousands, I don't know. You think it came from America and Native Americans were the first to smoke?
Yes. The whole world before, 1492 or whenever, the whole world didn't have tobacco. Only America.
Well, I think that, some companies did, start colonies in America specifically to grow tobacco and then transport it back to Europe.
Oh, yeah. It was, an instant hit. When the rest of the world discovered it, it was immediately popular, I think.
I am kind of surprised if it's natural to America, though. I would have thought that it's been out in the world for a while.
Well, by now, it's been a while.
Yeah, but the U.S. is only 200 years old, so how many years have they... I say it's only 200. I don't know how old it is. The country, but obviously it was found before then, but I don't know how long the U.S. has actually been connected with the rest of the world, if you know what I'm trying to say.
It was discovered in 1492, but that's not I think some Vikings had actually found it earlier, but they didn't really do as much trading.
Didn't exactly settle, and they usually robbed everyone that they came across.
Yeah,
they're basically pirates.
Except they're going on land and pillaging.
Yeah, but they're attacking usually from the sea. They're approaching in dragon ships.
Not only the sea, they could go down rivers. They had the longboats that could travel on the ocean or on rivers.
Yeah,
so
they would carry the boats onto land and just put it on a river if they found some. I don't know if they scouted ahead or what, but...
Vikings famously sieged or sacked, or whatever word you want to use, Paris by going down the Seine River. And Paris is not near the coast, not very close to it. They travel quite a ways down the river to do that.
The Vikings were a pretty interesting group of people, and I'm not even sure were they all from the same area and stuff, or could just anyone join? Would they recruit people?
Maybe to some extent, but I'm sure they were mostly just Norwegian, Swedish.
I was going to say, I thought that most Danish. Of them were probably either Danish or...
Norwegian.
Norwegian, yeah.
Those are the two biggest. Swedish, too. But, yeah. Okay, that's probably good for this episode. Thank you for listening. Oh, God. It's still recording because it... Oh.
God bless America.